All right, good afternoon or good morning, depending on, or good day, depending on where you are. Welcome to the month of May, and also welcome to our 2024 NERA Conference Overview and Call for Proposals webinar today. My name is Jonathan Steinberg. I am the president of the Northeastern Educational Research Association, or NERA, for the 2023-2024 year. This is what I do as my side gig. My regular gig is Director of Research and Analytics at EurekFacts, based in Rockville, Maryland, but I work remotely in New Jersey. I'm delighted to have my conference team here, most of them at least today. This is a tradition that we've had for several years now in NERA, where we've taken time while the call for proposals is open and kind of walk through some of the processes, some of the requirements, some of the deadlines, and various other information. Those of you who have been members for a long time, this will probably be a very nice review. But if you have not been a part of the NERA experience before, we hope this will be a very good and welcome introduction, in the hope that you will consider making a proposal to our conference. So we will talk about all that as we go along. So Javier Suarez Alvarez, he will be directing the slides. Caroline Prendergast from American Board of Surgery is here. Siyu Wan from the American Board of Internal Medicine is here. Hannah Smith had a prior commitment. She could not make it. But that's also why we are recording this. So we will be happy to take as many questions as we can. We will add that to our FAQ that's already, I believe, on the NERA website. I'll put that link in the chat. But, you know, we definitely want this to be a learning experience, and see what questions you have, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. All right. So with that, we can get underway.
All right. So yeah, let me start by putting the agenda on the screen. So this webinar, we provide a brief update on our planning process. We will share some information about who are going to be the keynote speakers and many other updates. And we will provide an overview as well of the content areas and our theme for this conference. And we are going to describe as well the process for submitting proposals. So in case that you have any question, that's the moment to ask. As you know, and as we will advertise in a few minutes, the deadline to submit the proposals is going to be later this month, May 24th. So you are still on time to submit, and we encourage you to do it. We will discuss many other aspects of the conference that we hope will enrich your experience. We will also, I mean, you can, I think, like, you can jump in and ask any question at any point during the presentations, but we hope to have time at the end as well in case that you want to discuss or comment. I mean, not only ask any question about the conference or the submission, but also any other suggestion that you would like us to consider as we continue planning for the conference. So first of all, let us make like a formal formal invitation to join the 55th Annual Conference, Northeastern Educational Research Association. Remember that this year the conference is going to be from October 8th to October 10th. That's Tuesday through Thursday. So please make sure that you put those dates on your calendar. And do not hesitate to let us know if there is any way that we can help you to plan for this year's conference, whether it is the first time or you have been coming for many years. The conference venue is the same as previous years. So for some of you who have already been here, it will be familiar. If it's new, let us know if we can help you plan for this, whether it is, you know, accommodation, transportation, or anything else that we can provide information. So the theme, I mean, as we will discuss in a few minutes, my colleagues, Siyu and Caroline, will describe some of the content areas for this conference. Despite we have some content areas, we have like an overarching theme for the conference, and we have some research question that, regardless of the content area that you're going to be submitting to, we would like you to think and to reflect during your presentation. No? The theme for this year's conference is promoting social responsibility in educational research, and some of the questions that we will ask, we would like you and us to answer with our work will be who is served by the field of education and research and who is ignored. So we would like you to reflect whether in the presentation, I mean, in the submission of your proposal, but during your presentation as well, like who is serving your research, who is actually the main stakeholders of your research, and what are going to be the practical implications of those results of that research for the different stakeholders involved. No? We would like you to think as well in terms of your methods, whether your methods of research, sampling, and engaging and communicating, whether they adequately reflect the learners that we are hoping to serve. No, we hope we hope that our work I mean, like one of our main goals is to embrace and promoting intersectionality. So we want, through the proposals and through the content of this conference, we want to ensure that the voices of all stakeholders are represented by our work. So this is why we encourage as well everyone submitting proposals that they reflect on this during their proposals and presentations. No. And finally, to stress, I mean, this is never stressed enough, like what are the practical implications of our work? No, what are, I mean, at the end of the day, research is meant to serve society. So we will encourage every participant in the conference to think and to reflect on how the work that they are doing will serve society as a whole, no, broadly. Now, let me very quickly introduce some of the exciting news about the conference. So we have two keynote speakers confirmed. The first one is going to present during the dinner on Tuesday, October 8th. Her name is Beverly Leon. She's the founder and CEO of Local Civics. Local Civics, for those who don't know it, is a nonprofit organization that engages K-12 students in developing civic skills via game-based learning with an emphasis on students at risk. Her professional background, she has over a decade of experience in youth education and coaching. She coordinated programs for Level the Field in New York City, and she's a civic education fellow at the Columbia University. If this was not enough, she's a retired professional soccer player. She played as a midfielder for Sunderland in the FA Women's Super League. The second speaker, also exciting to have him accepted our invitation, is Sean Nelms. He will be presenting October 9th, Wednesday, over lunch. He's the Vice President of Community Partnership at the University of Rochester. Sean was a superintendent of East Upper and Lower School, which was the lowest performing school in the area. He has led educational partnerships between the New York State Department of Education, Rochester City School District, and the University of Rochester. This partnership helped to develop a school reform model that could be replicated in urban settings across the United States. Other additional notes about him, he's like a renowned author, and actually he has recently published the book entitled Leading with Purpose, Empowering Others to Create Lasting Change. So now I will give the floor to our dear president to describe some of our invited panels for the conference.
Okay, thank you, Javier. So as has been the tradition in many NERA conferences, there have been some invited panels. So I'm pleased to say we have at least two that are confirmed right now. And we may have two others. I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the reasons why Beverly bubbled up as a preferred keynote speaker was because with the proximity of the conference to the election, I felt it was, and our team agreed, that it would be good to have some connection to civic education, an area that definitely needs a lot of attention right now, particularly in the teaching community. For that reason, I'm pleased to say that we have Laura Hamilton from AIR who will be moderating the session. I used to work with her when I was at ETS. She was a very big proponent of doing civic education research. So she will be joining Beverly, and we have some other folks Dina Pastor from JMU, Miriam Bart from the Maryland Department of Edge. Miriam will be our kind of a K-12 representative. And then Elise Alter from Sphere Education Initiatives based in Washington, D.C., representing kind of how the ed tech world has been dealing with civic education. The second one, which will take place on Wednesday, October 9th, for those who don't know, there are a lot of minority serving institutions in the Northeastern region. There are some HBCUs, but there are a lot of Hispanic serving institutions as well. And I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity to bring, as Javier just said in the previous slide, to bring those voices to the forefront. And so having a dedicated session for that, I felt would be worthwhile and impactful. So Laura Lara Brady, who was a former ETS summer intern way back when, so she and I have a longstanding friendship. She is at Wested now. She's done a lot of work in California in the community college community. She will be moderating this panel. And we also have 3 HBCU representatives who will be part of the panel. I'm sorry if you hear a plane going over my house. Marquita Thomas Brown from Delaware State University in Dover, Delaware. Claude Tamaze from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. Kendra Middleton from Howard University in Washington, D.C. She's also been a NERA panel member in the past. And Andres Castro Samayoya from Boston College. Laura actually recommended him to be part of the panel. He's done work with Mary Beth Gassman, if you know, familiar with her work. So we're looking forward to at least having these 2 panels. The other 2, if we can get them together, we will make you aware of those times and dates and times to be announced later. Okay.
Excellent. So Caroline, I think the floor is yours.
Yes, so hi everybody, I'm Caroline Prendergast. I'm going to give a quick overview of the proposal submission process. All of this information is contained in the call for proposals that went out a couple weeks ago. So you should have this in your email. If you don't, it's also available on the NERA website, or if you still can't find it, the co-chair's email address is going to be listed on one of these slides. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or need to be directed to any of this material. So I'll try to keep it brief so that I'm not just rephrasing what you've already seen or what you have available, but just kind of hitting some of the major points as you're preparing proposals. So we have an online proposal system, the same one that we've used in the past, that's available through the NERA website that you can also link to from the call for proposals, which you received. And the deadline is going to be at the end of the month, so Friday, May 24th at midnight Eastern. So the research projects this year, we wanted to make sure that we were being both inclusive of completed projects as well as ongoing projects that might not yet be complete. So we wanted to emphasize that in-progress research or nearly complete research will also be considered for inclusion in this year's conference. But we do want to see some potential for readiness by the conference date. So, you know, even if it is an incomplete project, we hope to see there being something to present by that point. We also encourage in-progress work for the roundtable presentations for interactive feedback. And this year, something new that's not listed on here is that we're also trying to encourage folks, particularly folks who are in graduate programs, who might be completing summer internships, to submit incomplete research for their summer internship projects. So many folks do those summer internships, might not yet be done with preparing a manuscript or a presentation by the time NERA rolls around, but we hope that this will offer an opportunity for those kinds of projects to be given some intermediate feedback before potential submission for somewhere else in the spring. So any of you who are in contact with graduate students or are graduate students who might be completing a summer internship, just know that that's something that we're also encouraging this year. If you want to go on to the next slide, please. So as always, we ask for submissions to use content strands. So these are provided. We ask for the selection of 1 primary content strand and then 2 alternate content strands as well. The main reason that we do this is just to make sure that we're going to be able to match up those proposals with reviewers who have skill and knowledge and background within that area. So there's high quality review happening that's matched to those proposals. It's also going to help us put the right proposals into the right sessions, make sure that things are as relevant to a given audience as possible, and help us assign discussants. So make sure that you're using those content strands when you submit. And again, feel free to reach out if you have questions about which ones might be most appropriate to you. Go ahead to the next one, please. So these are the content areas that we provide for the proposals. So I'm not going to read each of them individually. I'll point out, though, that these are the ones that have been used at NERA for a couple of years now. But we also have these kind of three at the end that I want to point out. So post-COVID innovations and solutions, this was introduced for the first time last year. This is obviously still greatly impacting the educational landscape. So we wanted to keep it around because this research can and should still be ongoing. We've also added a new application of AI strand this year. So if you attended NERA last year, you know that this was a focal point of a lot of people's research. So we wanted to formalize that, again, just to kind of ease that the review process, as well as making sure that we're kind of lumping the same kinds of presentations together when we actually set up the conference schedule. We also have a miscellaneous strand. So if your proposal doesn't quite fit into any of these, that's okay. We have that miscellaneous group for a reason. Feel free to use it if that's the most relevant to you. Right, I'll go on to the next one. So once we receive the submissions, all of the session formats, no matter which format you submit, they all get peer reviewed. So everything goes out for review. And as a reminder, something else that was in this call for proposals was a link to volunteer to be a proposal reviewer. So if you're able to do that, if you're willing to do that, we would love to have you volunteer. So please feel free to reach out or complete that survey if you haven't done so already. So we conduct this peer review across all the proposals to ensure that we have high quality presentations across the board at NERA. I also want to point out some slightly different approaches for the theme-based paper sessions and the symposia. So for these, if you are proposing a symposium, so you're kind of collaborating with some colleagues to put together a symposium or a theme-based paper session with kind of similar work on a common theme, we just ask that you submit one proposal for all of those papers in the session. So instead of submitting them individually, you just do the one. And include a brief description of how those papers relate to each other, as well as descriptions of the individual papers that you're proposing within that group. And then be sure to indicate that it is a theme-based submission, a session or symposium within the system. Next one. All right, so that review process. So like I said, no matter how you submit it, no matter which kind of presentation you are submitting for, they are all going to be reviewed. The reviewers are NERA member volunteers who have specific skill within those content strands. And they could be you. If you would like to volunteer to be one of those people, we would really appreciate it. The final acceptance and format are going to be decided by the conference co-chairs based on those reviews that we receive from our volunteer reviewers, as well as program availability. So once we get those reviews back, we will kind of make final decisions to shuffle people into the program as they best fit. So if you are submitting a research paper, we ask that those papers be emailed to the discussant by September 24th, 2024. So just something to keep in mind as you're working on a proposal, is keeping that date in your head, that this is when we need these papers to be in by, so that your discussant has time to fully review them, digest them, and think through how to kind of make those connections across the folks who are going to be presenting with you. So please make sure that they're done by then, so that the discussants have sufficient time for review. Now, if you are accepted to present and you are then unable to attend, and no other co-authors or colleagues can substitute for you at the physical conference, please let us know. So just send us an email so that we can withdraw you from the program and make sure that we're best using the space that's available at the conference. But if you accept to present, we take that as an indication that you are intending to attend. Obviously, we know things happen, but that's kind of the assumption there. So if that's not the case, just let us know and we'll do our best to kind of shuffle things around. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to CU.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Si. Now we're all talking about how to prepare your presentation when you get accepted for the your articles, your symposia. So the first thing is we're going to provide LCD projector, and thanks to our sponsor organizations, and for each conference rooms, our chair will also bring their own laptops. So they probably will send you an email to ask for your slides. They're going to loading your slide into Cheers laptop, and during the presentation day, you can use your Cheers laptop and also our LCD projectors. For people who are going to present using the posters, the poster sizes will be 36 times 48 inches, and we're going to having these display boards in each conference rooms. And to make sure people can read your titles and the contents clearly, we encourage the title, author, application information is larger than 36 point fonts, and the other text should be larger than 28 point fonts. We also encourage you to put more diagrams, figures, photos, or blue point texts to make your poster more readable and to give you a more like discussion between your audience. And then before this poster presentation days, we prefer you to prepare a PowerPoint, like no more than 4 slides, to give your attendance like a brief introduction of your topic and everything to make people understand your research better. And next slide. So Caroline just briefly mentioned about we have the roundtable sections for this year's conference. So the roundtable sections are designed to maximize the interactions. So those sections will not feature about the formal presentations, but will focusing on the discussions. So each table will host 3 to 5 presenters along with moderators who is have knowledge in this area about of the topic. So you are going to have the opportunities to give a brief overview of your work and engage deeply with your audience and peers over the specific issues you are facing. So we think this format is great for the collaborative learning and networkings. And understanding the roles of chairs and discussants also help us to navigate your sections effectively. So the chair is responsible for organizing the sections. For example, and probably collecting the papers, they are going to communicating between authors and also going to managing the projectors in each conference rooms and ensure the timelines for during the presentations. And meanwhile, the discussant will provide valuable feedback on your presentations and papers, drawing on their expertise to foster a richer discussion and connect your work to a broader themes in the field. Next slide, please. So if you decide to attending NERAs, we are going to post about the conference registration fee soon in our NERA websites, and we're going to we're going to have 3 categories: professional, retirees, and students. One thing I want to mention is after September 24th is going to be the later registration fees. So in order to save you some monies, and also help you to planning the conference in advance, please make sure to register before that times. And all attendees must also be NERA members, so don't forget to renew your NERA memberships. And we're going to post more information about the registration soon on our website. Next slide. So if you also plan to stay with us in our Marriott hotels, we have negotiated special room rates for the hotels. However, there's a limited number of rooms available for those discounted rates. So to ensure you secure a room at this price, I also encourage you to book as soon as possible when the registration and hotel information release on our website. So So all attendees will enjoy meals included with the registration, no matter you decide to stay in the hotel or not. So we adhere to current public health and safety guidelines to ensure everyone's safeties. But if you have dietary restrictions, please contact our co-chair teams using the email address. Next one. So finally, let's discuss some enhanced features we're excited to offer at this year's conference. So for Marriott members, you should look out for the exclusive benefits such as the mobile check-in or the free Wi-Fi. So those information will share through the app closer to the conference date. Even NERA does not provide child card directly. We have identified two off-site providers near the conference hotels. We're going to share those information about these daycare centers at the time of the registrations, which will allow you to make arrangement that best suit your needs. And we also should keep an eye for more information on our potential travel grant fund, which we are still under development, and we're going to release them soon. We hope this travel grant will help more members to participate in this year's conference. And I think that is all for our webinars. And next slide, we have our still co-chair email address. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.
Thank you, Sue. And before we get to the Q&A, I just want to point out a lot of our committees are working together with us to help improve the overall conference experience. For many people, this might be your first time who are watching this. NERA might be the first conference you ever attend. That was actually the case for me back in 2007. It was the first conference I ever attended. There were a lot of things I didn't know, and a lot of things that by meeting other people and then coming year after year, I became more comfortable. But some of the things we've heard about in survey feedback after the conference have really made us think about how to better design that conference experience for people. More details will be coming out along the way, but we wanted to kind of highlight two of the bigger ones with the childcare options and the travel grant program, because those are things that we felt would be most impactful to hear about now. Transportation options is another one that some of you may be thinking about. Trumbull, Connecticut is in between 3 different airports. For those who are thinking about flying, to take the train up is actually much more convenient. The Bridgeport, Connecticut Amtrak station is very close to the hotel. It's probably about a 10-minute or so ride share trip from there. But one of the things we've talked about is getting together kind of if there are a common group of people coming in at a certain time, we hopefully can work with you so that, you don't have to, you can kind of share the cost of the transportation to and from the hotel, just to make life hopefully a little bit easier. So again, more details as we get closer, but just wanted to throw that out there now, again, for those who will view this later and may have been wondering about it. All right. Otherwise, we can open the floor for questions. We have plenty of time. It's only the bottom of the hour. So by all means, please feel free to either put your question in the chat or just come off mute and ask your question. Yes, Jolena, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Thanks. So this is my first time introduced to NERA. My doctoral chair professor had sent out your link to us. And so when you say strands, pick different strands, are you saying like pick whether you'd prefer to do a round table, a poster presentation, or a regular presentation?
That's a good question. So we ask you to select the presentation format, which is what you just listed, and then these strands are sort of like, think of them kind of like really big umbrella topic areas, if that makes sense. So you'll have both that format of how you would like to be presenting. So if you're trying to do a symposium, a paper presentation, that kind of thing, a round table, and then also these kind of larger themes of kinds of topics. And we know that not every presentation is going to fit into one of those strands, which is why we have that miscellaneous category as well.
And if my doctoral dissertation, like I'm hoping to get it through the IRB in September or October, but I won't have any data to talk about, you know. So am I too soon to try to do a presentation?
That's a good question. I think, and Jonathan, you might want to jump in here, but one of the really wonderful things about NERA is that there is a whole lot of kind of ongoing research that's presented there and research that's presented by graduate students who are at various points in their dissertation work or other research projects that they're working on. If you think that there is a portion of your dissertation that might make a reasonable presentation, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that. It sounds like the data portion probably isn't going to be the right timing for this year's NERA, but if there's some other portion that seems worth presenting, absolutely, please submit it.
Yes. So just to add to that, thank you, Caroline. We've had a lot of people come through NERA at various stages, I think, of their dissertation. Some have already had it completed, but some are still in progress. And I think, you know, I do not have a PhD myself, but I know a lot of work goes into literature review, and there are, you know, depending on what you're doing for your dissertation, the policy implications of what you're doing could be very impactful. And that literature review could be very interesting to attendees. And we would, as a team, when we go to categorize the submission, we would put it in a session that is most appropriate given the topic. So we will take all that into account. So by all means, again, as Caroline was saying, you know, we definitely want people to, even if they're in the middle of doing something, NERA is a great venue for getting feedback and being able to potentially make refinements, because even if NERA is not if you may have other plans for your research at some point, you can take the feedback from your colleagues, your chair, your discussant, what have you, and apply that to a future submission, whether it's an article, whether it's another conference presentation, what have you. So because we like the fact that we are very more on the informal side of formal in NERA, because we do have that, you know, one conference hotel, very warm, inviting atmosphere. You know, we hope that will be support for you, you know, not only to present your work, but also to feel like, you know, as you progress in your trajectory, you can come back at some point later, you know, and talk about the work that you're doing at that point as well. So hope that helped. Let's see. We got a couple of questions in the chat. Okay, so Kai, since I know you, I will take this one. So if you have already submitted through the portal, I don't believe it is locked. I do believe you can go and make changes up until the deadline. So, you know, if some, you know, I think this happened to me one year or something, where like I had to a last minute change and I had to reattach whatever the main body of the proposal was. So if you have a proposal, yes, you can. I do believe you can go ahead and change it in the VEITH system. I don't think there's a problem there. And okay, Charles, can you shed some light on selection criteria for submitted proposals? Okay, so there are, and I'll ask my team to help me if I get some of these things wrong or misstate something, but there are a general set of principles by which all proposals are reviewed. So I think it's things like statement of purpose, what is the impact on policy, your methodology, your sample, if you have one, your results, if you have any. I believe we may have that posted on in the FAQ somewhere. I can't remember. That's why I'm looking at my team through the boxes. But you know, we can make sure that that's re-emphasized if it's not clear. Oh, okay. So Wendy's question, I was a former co-chair in 2021. Stephen Holtzman, who's on the call here, was president at the time, so I can answer this one, Wendy. So no, there is no requirement to submit your paper to the conference proceedings. There are advantages, though. The benefit is that you have a URL that is attached to that article that can be used. So it's one step up from just, you know, paper presented at a conference. The only restriction on that is that we really don't encourage much in the way of editing after the paper's been submitted, unless there's something that your discussant really pointed out, felt that, you know, you really should address. But no, we got I believe somewhere around 10 papers from the 23 conference. We've been pretty consistent, I think, since we've had this, at least in recent years. So, I mean, we get far more submissions, and a lot of people just aren't ready to submit it for formal publication. But that's why we do make a point during the conference to promote this. The University of Connecticut has been very kind in working with us through the years to provide this service to have the conference proceedings. So we will remind people about that closer to the time. But you know, we're happy to have it as part of the proceedings if it's accepted, but there is no formal requirement to do so. All right, thank you, Sue. She's pointing out what the review process is like, and you can all read that. Sionan, right, okay. She attended a NERA proposal development workshop. Oh, workshop coaching on how to write a proposal. Will there be a similar workshop this year? It was very helpful last year. I actually forgot about that happened. So thank you for the reminder. Unfortunately, we did not. I'm trying to remember if we had. Does anyone remember if we did that as a webinar or if it was part of the actual conference? I don't think it would be part of the conference. We can check, because if it was a webinar, then the question is, did we record it? For full disclosure, I have to make sure we actually recorded it. But if not, we can probably find who did it and get the slides. Oh, no slides. Okay, thank you, Stephen. Okay. So we'll have to figure out how to deal with this and see if we can get something together quickly and get it up on the website. So thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was a webinar around May, like before proposal deadline.
Okay.
Give us some what are the sections is like standard to be included in your proposal, and outline that part. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I also want to acknowledge Jean Horst's comment. Jean had been at James Madison. That's how I met her a long time ago. She had been the chair of the communications committee, and now she's a common lit. But you know, I definitely can attest to this. Again, for those who have been coming to NERA for a long, long time, this is one of those fringe benefits that we want people to be talking about more and helping promote our organization outside our figurative walls. So, Jean, thank you for that. Okay. Don't see any other questions yet. We'll maybe give it another minute or so. And again, we're going to be posting the slides and the recording of this up on the NERA website as soon as we can get all that together, hopefully within a week. Our infrastructure committee is pretty good about that. And Yubao, our webmaster, so she's definitely fantastic at helping us with things like this. So thank you for your help.
Today.
Oh. Okay, I'm not seeing any other things in the chat. Yeah, so again, the website, the email address that we saw on a couple of slides, nera.cochairs@gmail.com is the best way to reach out with any questions. And we'll do our best to keep everyone informed about how things are progressing. If you registered for the webinar, I have your email address in the Zoom. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. And also, please feel free to join our membership list anyway, even if you decide not to submit this year. But this way, you'll get our emails, and you'll find out when we update our newsletter, which is the NERA Researcher. We are currently working on our current issue, but the last issue came out in February. It comes out 3 to 4 times a year. So there will be pieces by me and the conference team and some of our other committees. So by all means, please feel free to check that out and read up on what else is going on in the organization. And one last thing I will add, there are sponsorship opportunities for the conference. We have not put that information formally out yet. It just needs a little bit more tweaking, but the packet is essentially ready to go. So if you know anyone who might be interested in sponsoring, it helps defray, we hope, some of the conference registration costs and operational costs to run the conference. So you can feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email, best way to putting that in the chat, president@nera-education.org. I will see that, and then I can follow up with anyone who is interested. And there are different levels of sponsorship. I think there's 4 or 5 tiers, and there are certain perks that come with each. So again, if you're interested, I can send you that information. All right. If there's nothing else, thank you all for coming. It was great to see so many people I've not seen before, people I have seen before. And again, we hope you'll consider making a submission by May 24th. And even if you're not planning to submit, we hope to see you in Trumbull in October. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now.